All right, welcome to another exciting episode of The Real Deal. Happy Saturday, December 9th. Let's get it. All right, welcome to another exciting episode of The Real Deal. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harding. Glad to be back with another Saturday episode. We are sponsored by BS3 Network, BS3 Radio. You can find all the shows on the BS3 Network app. That's Roku TV, BS3 TV, Roku app. You can find it on all social media and podcast platforms: Spotify, Google Play, Apple, Anchor, Spreaker. You can follow me at Get the Real Deal on Twitter, at Courtney 110979 on Twitter as well, Facebook, Instagram, The Real Deal with Courtney Hart. If you just type it in, and all the shows are on all those platforms. So again, shout out to BS3 Network and the website bs3network.com, bs3tvlive.com. I mean, we're everywhere. So like I said, you can find the shows just about every podcast network, podcast platform you can find us. So, but I'm very, very excited to have this next. I know I say this all the time, but there's certain guests that you just know you're going to have a great episode. I mean, when you've done this as long as I have done this for like 7, 8 years, you just kind of know. Just when you see their work and you see what they do, and you really respect what they do and the things they bring out, the content and all that. But we're going to get into, you can see the background. We're going to get into media, business, social media, marketing, and everything. But she is a media personality strategist, First Class Network. You've probably seen her on BET, TV One, a lot of different places. I mean, she's done reporting, she's done hosting, she does a lot of hats. So I'm very, very excited to get into business and media. So if you're trying to get into the business and media side of this, she's the one to get to help you out, give you some tips. So we're going to talk all media, which I am a nerd about. So, but I am going to welcome to the show Miss Kami Simmons.
Hi.
Hey, what's going on, Kami? How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How you doing, Courtney?
I'm doing good. Thank you for coming on to the show. Like I was telling you before we start recording, and we've been talking over the last few weeks trying to get this set up. I'm very excited to have you on to discuss your career, how you've helped a lot of people in the media, in business, and not even just that. You've given tips and you've given advice, and you have a strategy. So I want to get it. I'm all in media. I love it. I love reading it. I love the good and there's the bad, but we're gonna get into all of that. But thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be on your platform. So thank you for allowing the space to, bring folks such as myself on here to, not only tell folks about our stories, which I think is important, but also just share, some tips and tricks and just have some good conversation, which I'm all about.
Yes, yes, definitely all about it. Like I said, I've followed you for a little while, and I've seen a lot. I should say I followed you for a while, and I've seen a lot of your work. And as you said, you've done things for a lot. Well, we'll get into all it, but you've done a lot of different things for a lot of media and network corporations.
Mhm.
Just your presence alone, just being there, it's great to see that. And I see your social media it just blows up with a lot of different things. A lot of different people you've been around and everything too.
Mhm.
So we'll get into all of that. So, but let's start with who Kami Simmons is. Like, let's talk about a little bit of your background, how you got into the business. Start from the beginning. So you go as long as you want.
Sure. So I could remember when I was 3 years old, my grandma had gifted me this pink Barbie VHS set, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, back then you couldn't tell 3-year-old Cammy that she was not supposed to be in front of the camera, sitting in
Right.
her grandma's Chicago
Mm-hmm.
living room and her Florida room in Chicago, Illinois, which is where I was born. And, basically that was where the seed was planted. I grew up in a single family household. Um, you know, And so, mom was the only one in the house. I have a twin sister, so we were both getting raised together.
Okay.
And, back then, it was not the ideal situation. It was a time where I felt a lot of rejection. I felt lonely at times. And so I used media as a way to basically put my energy and pour my energy into something else. And so that seed later grew into me venturing out into corporate America. I became a morning television reporter,
Mm.
and I soon realized that that wasn't it either, Courtney.
Right.
So,
Okay.
as a morning television reporter, I was being paid $15 an hour. I was being retaliated against. I was learning a lot, but I started to notice that there was a pattern of me going into these work newsroom environments where it just wasn't a positive situation. And so
Right.
long after, I got fired, I used that as an opportunity to step out on faith. And so that's when I packed up my bags and I headed to Atlanta, Georgia, and I
Okay.
started Class Network. And so now I'm helping entrepreneurs become what I call the superstars that God has always created them to be. So we do a lot of press and media pitching sessions and trainings. We do, pitching, media, uh, press, all of that. And we teach
Right.
them to basically, continue to elevate in their perspective industry. So I give them access to, red carpet and high profile events and stuff like that. And just really just be a coach in that way, not only in the media aspect, but just empowering them along the way. So I'm really blessed to be, where I am. Now I have my media consultancy and my streaming network and my
Yeah.
educational platform. So it's really been a journey, but it's been um, a path to that journey. It just didn't happen overnight.
Right.
And so a lot of healing has taken place because of that.
Hmm.
A lot of ups and downs and challenges and a lot of processing has happened because of that. So I'm just really blessed and honored to be here, because it's definitely been a journey. But just being able to share my knowledge, share my insights, share my wisdom, share strategies with entrepreneurs. I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. So,
No
yeah, that's
doubt.
and I'm sticking to
I
it.
love that. No, I love that because I always on the show, I like to hear everybody's journey because it's always different where you come from, where your background, your just, how you navigate through. So I want to dive a little bit more into that. How, what you learned. You said starting in like in the newsroom, you said that wasn't it. Some people you would think, oh, I've made it because I'm telling news, I'm a reporter, or I'm telling news. I love the environment. And I know they're hearing stories of sometimes toxicity and
Mhm,
all those things. But what
mhm.
have you learned over that journey to get to where you are today?
Yeah, I learned a lot. If we were to focus in on character development, which now I
Mm,
know that that's really what I was going through, in addition to, learning all the hard skills and, stuff like that. Like I learned
right.
how to be in front of the camera. I learned how to write scripts. I learned how to pitch stories. I learned all of that. Anybody could be teachable in that aspect. But
Right.
the main thing that I learned now that I have had the opportunity to reflect on that experience is character development. How are you going to respond when people are slandering you and gossiping about you and telling lies on you?
Right.
Because I did have people in the newsroom who wanted to intentionally mess up my reputation and wanted to put me in a light like Kami is not this, like, they wanted to like show me as somebody who I wasn't.
Mm,
And so, but
hmm.
in that season, I learned that that was an opportunity for me to um, literally be isolated. My
Wow.
last job was during COVID, and while a lot of people did get sent back home, um, across all different industries, including the news industry, what happened at my newsroom is that they ultimately brought back everybody back into the newsroom except for me, and so they were
Mm,
intentionally isolating me.
right.
But
Right.
what I will say is that during that time, that was a time for me to learn how to be quiet, sit back. Sometimes you got to sit back, and that's easier said than done. But that
Right.
was a time for me to learn how to pray, learn how to fast, learn how to, you know, go for my walks. During that time, I did a lot of like self care. So I went for a lot of walks. I, just like really wanted to hone in on what it is that I really want to achieve during my lifetime.
Right.
So, and also character development in the sense that people are people, you know. And
Hmm.
so the question becomes, what are you going to do when that person does talk about you? Are you going to respond back in a negative way? Are you going to gossip about them? Or are you going to just, tell them, hey, you look good today? Because a lot of the times people lash out because of their own hurt and their own traumas. And so learning how to love people, which I think is easier said than done, and learning
Hmm.
how to be patient and learning how to um, still give back, even in those, you know, drought, seasons, as some people will call. I think that is what I learned the most during my time, when I was processing and going through that journey.
Right, and it's interesting that you said it's like everyone has a journey. It was building character. Even for you, it was like it was building character, and as you said, just character driven of learning from other people too. Like you said, you were isolated, and that could be a hard thing for us. Like, why is this happening to me? Where everybody else gets to move on, but I didn't. They kind of isolated me out. But then, as you said, you prayed about it, you fasted, you kind of just learned, like, okay, I'm gonna just sit back and see what God has in store for me, and just moving forward. And now look where you are today, building your network and things like that. I think that's the journey itself is a story that it's great, and I know that you're here to definitely tell it.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, yes, of course. All right, well, let's talk about where you are today, or where you can continue to keep building, and you said you're building your character, your confidence, and everything too, to where you are today. What would you say was the difference between you from 10 years ago and where you are today? It could be professionally or personally.
Okay, so I would say definitely 10 years ago, I was figuring it out, trying to
Mm-hmm.
figure out what it is that I wanted to do, what kind of mark that I want to make in the world. I was out here having a good time, going to parties, hanging out with
Yep.
friends,
Mm-hmm.
living life, having some good food along the way. I would say also, you said both professionally. I would say 10 years ago, I was yeah, really trying to figure out, okay, I know that entertainment and media is my calling, but what specifically is it that I'm supposed to do or trying to
Right.
do in the industry? And then also on a personal tip, just like hanging out with people who may not have been the best for me, but they were the best for me at that time, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I hope that answers the question. I know like a lot of, I don't know, now that like I've had a lot of time to grow and like really reflect, a lot of who you are personally and professionally plays off of one another. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
I've come to learn. Mhm.
That's a good point. It's interesting because you said sometimes your personal your personal life, something like say, intertwined with your business life. I know we can still separate it that sometimes too, but sometimes that the personal thing, because you're working with so many people that are your colleagues or your friends sometimes, and you talk about a lot of different things personally and professionally, so it does kind of intertwine with each other. So, but as you said, all right, let's get into a little bit more of the media side of this, and I'm looking forward to the things you got to say about this. And so you worked at a lot of different companies and a lot of different networks, and you've helped and strategized with networks. What are you think was some of your biggest highlights first of that and that platform of just being, like I said, you did TV1, BET, and others, but what would you say was some of your biggest highlights in your career so far?
I think the TV one was definitely one of my biggest ones.
Hmm.
So a lot of people don't know when I was in the midst of knowing that my season of being a morning TV host was up. During that time when I was going through all of that like retaliation at work, I was
Right.
actually doing a lot of self takes because one of the things that I decided that I wanted to do while I was being isolated was is that I wanted to be on a reality show. I always had the
Yeah.
dream of getting on reality TV. I always watch like shows like the Bad Girls Club and Love and Hip Hop and all these shows. And
Yeah, yeah.
I could definitely see myself going on the show, but I knew I did not want to go in a negative light, but I always knew that I wanted to be on reality TV. So while I was being isolated, I interviewed with different reality show producers. I interviewed with like 15 different producers on different networks, and one of them was TV1. And one of my goals was to do a dating show. And
Okay.
so, um, yeah, so TV1, I was on Acting for a Friend, which was a dating show. Lisa Ray was the host of the
Oh wow.
show.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
basically, you went on the show and you did a blind date. And I never went on a blind date. So this was something totally different for me. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to use this as an opportunity to go on and be on my reality show. So I would say that that was definitely a highlight, especially now that I look back on it, and that I was applying for that show when I was like in the midst of getting fired from being a TV reporter.
Right.
I thank God for just being able to like allow me to continue to press forward, because if I would have given up, if I would have just said, if I would have just threw in the towel and said, you know what, I'm gonna lay in my bed and I'm just gonna be depressed, and I'm just gonna be anxious for nothing, then that probably would not have happened. But because I kept pressing forward, even without knowing what that was going to look like, that is the reason why I got that. So that's why I say that that was one of my top three. I would say another top moment in my career was when Yahoo News brought me on as a consultant. That also
Yeah.
happened around the same time when I moved to Atlanta. And so they brought me on for the Yahoo Finance franchise to basically help bring on um, music artists and folks who are in the entertainment and media space to
Okay.
finance. A lot of people look at finance as being a boring topic. And so the Yahoo basically hired me because they knew that I could bring a different taste, a different flair, a different angle. And so I was
Right.
in charge of bringing um, artists and tastemakers and people within the culture to the Yahoo finance franchise to basically talk about finance and crypto and tech and stuff like that. So that was
Right.
another top moment. Just being able to bring all that I was doing already at like the BETs of the world, and stuff like that to a industry or to a network like Yahoo Finance. And then I would also say another top moment in my career would definitely be when I got the opportunity to work with XO Nicole, formerly known as Nicole Bitchie, which is now owned by Will Packer, who is a film producer
Yeah.
and director. So XO Nicole is an online media franchise, so it's up there with the Hollywood Unlocks, the Shade Rooms, the Jasmine brands of the world.
Right.
And it's basically a media tech company. And so she brought me on, Nicole Kane, who is another mover and shaker out here, a business mogul.
Hmm.
And she brought me on to basically produce and to be the host of some of what she was doing at XO Nicole. So just basically having the opportunity to continue to host on, major red carpets and celebrity events. And this all happened after I got fired from being a morning television reporter. So
Right.
those are my top three moments.
And like you said, all those great moments and more to come. And I'm sure there's a lot more. But as you said, you were fired from the news, being news in the newsroom, and now you here. So that's just like a full circle, I'm sure, for you. And you probably think, wow, this has been a blessing of everything of, like I said, being fired and being isolated, and you said retaliation, and now you're here where you are today and continue to just build on your career and your resume. I know it has to feel like really good. It's like where I've come from and to where I am today.
Absolutely,
Y-
absolutely. And I wouldn't change it for the world. And when I was in the midst of it, I was angry, I was frustrated, I was feeling some type of way about the whole situation. But
Right.
now I know that that's like now my testimony and my story now, that I
Hmm.
can impart not only that wisdom and knowledge, but knowledge, but also just like strategies that I use on a professional basis, but also on a personal, spiritual basis too. So
Mhm.
I'm just, like you said, just really blessed just for the journey. I wouldn't trade it in for anything.
Right, right, and then the thing is that you show a lot of versatility too. Like
Mhm,
you've done news, entertainment, media, from everything, music to a lot of different avenues. Would you say that would be one of the things, like if someone wants to get into this business, to know not just stay in one box or one genre? And as we talked about before we start recording, you were
mhm,
saying like how with some of my interviews I do is very intentional, but it's like,
mhm,
yes, it's more sports based. That's where it started from. That's the core of it. But I could
mhm,
tie it into, like you said, business and because I like to hear people's stories,
mhm.
whatever it is. Would you say this just being more, I guess, versatile, until if you want to get into this business, like one of the keys to really if you're trying to build a brand in business and media?
Yeah, I would say definitely learning the skill set. You hit on a very important point, which is storytelling. And at the end
Mm,
of the day, as somebody who works in media, entertainment, and journalism, your job is to tell the stories of those who are moving and shaking in their industries. I think it's very important to hone in on the craft of storytelling, hone in on on other skills like how to edit, how to put your work out
mhm.
there on social media, how to write a script, how to convey a message, how to look for different stories and different angles. And that was one thing I learned even when I became a morning television reporter, is that and I was very intentional in that decision too. When I went to local news, I said, I don't want to be on the 5, 6, and 9 o'clock news. I want to be the morning reporter, because the morning reporter is, I'm out there, covering like fires and murders and,
Yeah,
government and
heavy
the
stuff, right? Heavy things.
stuff.
Yeah,
But if you think about it, that is still, you're still out there. You still have to do it in a very engaging and a very entertaining way, right?
yes,
So the skills that I use when I'm out there covering murders and fires, which I did, I still use those same skills when I'm on the red carpet. So it never changes. It just pivots into a different beat, as what we call it in journalism. It just,
yeah,
you know, whether I'm covering hard news or entertainment, it's the same skill set. And honestly, it made me more marketable for that. That was one of the reasons why I got hired by Yahoo as a consultant, and I got hired by like Exo Nicole, because when if the thing is, when you want to be in front of the camera, right? It's cute to be in front of the camera. You put your makeup on and you lay your edges down and you put on your cute
right.
clothes. But it becomes a whole different story when you can like write the script and pitch the story and
Mm,
deliver the
mhm.
message and maybe even edit. Because a lot of people didn't realize when I was in local news, I had to set up my tripod, set up my shot, make sure the lighting was looking good, make sure the sound
Right.
was sounding right. Then I went to go put on my makeup in the news car real quick to look cute. Like that was only like 5% of the job. And then I would get in front of the camera, do my stand up, deliver the news, And so when I did get approached by Exo Nicole, which has like over, I want to say 500,000, a quarter of a million followers on her platform, to do
Mm,
those kind of opportunities, it was because I had those skill sets other than just being a pretty face in front of the camera and sounding good. Like, yeah, that's good, that's fine, that's dandy. But what else are you bringing to the table? And because in
right.
local news, their goal is to save money. So, they didn't want to send a camera person out there with me because that was less money that they had to spend. But because I did not look at it as being a negative situation, I went into the situation with a half glass full, half glass empty mentality.
Mhm.
I looked at that as an opportunity to say, you know what, I'm gonna learn how to use a tripod and the camera and to edit, which actually became my benefit when I exited the news. Because honestly, when I was at Yahoo, I wasn't in front of the camera. I was pitching stories behind the scenes with
Right.
the major players in entertainment and the music industry and entertainment and media. And then I was also editing video for Yahoo's platform on their, direct TV platform and their Roku station. All these skills that I had learned while I was, in this process period of being a
Yeah, right. Mhm.
reporter, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So I was learning all those skills to then prepare me for this. Then once I learned how to work with these digital, brands, media brands like Exo Nicole and Yahoo, now I was able to start my media consultancy. So you see, all of these things led up to what it is that I'm doing. Like even back then, I didn't officially have a coaching consulting business, but I was teaching women and men how to get into the television industry, which I still do to this day. It's just now I'm like honing in on entrepreneurs and actually helping, really gearing in and focusing on entrepreneurs, helping them leveraging media to get more visibility in front of their ideal clients, in addition to still helping people get into media and entertainment if that's something that they want to do. So,
Yes.
yeah.
I love that. I mean, there was so much unpacked there. It was just like that. I mean, those are great. It's great information, great nuggets that, as you said, just to anyone that want to try to get into it. Like you're one of the prime examples of, from like I said, from the different avenues you were with, from the tech, from the newsroom, from tech to finance to entertainment to all these different ways of of how to kind of just sometimes you just got to take these type of jobs and these type of careers where you're just maneuvering, you're just moving around, and to
Mm-hmm.
get to where you want to go to. But as you said, you had to learn editing, you had to learn all those things, and now you have all that in you. Now, if you
Mm-hmm.
get somewhere where you get like, okay, you want to be an editor, oh, I know how to edit, I know how to do these things on this level. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's something that you know should be taught more, even in like for schools that are trying to get
Mhm.
into
Mhm.
journalism and everything too. So I want to get into that part of it, the journalism part of this,
Mhm.
because journalism now has been, these say over the last, like I would say, she's no longer 5-10 years, has been,
Mhm.
you've seen it, you're in it. It's like,
Oh yeah.
some people, yeah, people don't trust the news, they don't trust journalism,
Mhm.
they don't trust
Mhm.
things like that. What would you say now, since you've been in it for so many years, uh, where journalism has gone, what can be trusted? There's the fake news aspect of it,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
and alternative facts. People,
Mhm.
like people like Trump that said that, but
Mhm.
it's funny. He says that fake news. There is that aspect of it in a
There is.
way, But what would you
Mhm.
say to that aspect of the fake news, and what can be trusted, sources that can be trusted,
Mhm.
and all those things?
Yeah, I will say that, yeah, there is an aspect to fake news. Just like any business, journalism is no different. There is an agenda behind it. Um, and then if we're looking at it from an aspect of people who run in the business who may not have been healed,
Mm,
they may be unconsciously projecting their ego and their unhealed trauma in the workplace. It's just that newsroom happens to be a public platform. It's no different
right.
than any other workplace. So that would be one. Also, two, I think that it's still great to still tap in with news because, especially me as a business person or anybody who's looking to start a business, you have to be able to know what's going on in the marketplace and be able to know what's going on in the news cycle so that you could be able to understand how that is affecting the type of business that you're running. Because at the end of the day, no matter if it's finances or if it's a war or if it's just like some recall or whatever kind of thing is happening within the news cycle, it does in fact affect your business, whether it's a product or a service. And it also helps you better um, say, how am I going to convey my message better by, knowing what's going on in the news cycle. But it's also important to have some sense of discernment, I think, too, as a business
Yeah.
person, so
Yes.
that you can be able to know what's real and what's fake. And trust me, when you have developed that, you will be able to know.
Be able to know.
Right.
Yes,
And
exactly.
then you can also go back to the source and be able to do your own research as well, instead of just listening to talking heads who are basically just feeding you information and you're just there just consuming it.
Mm.
So I will say, yes, there is. That was one of the reasons why I was fired from news. I'm not even going to lie to you, was because a lot of the decision makers makers and the networks that I was working with were in bed with people who they were doing business with, who I did not know at the time. And so once I got let go, I started to put together the puzzle pieces. And so, yeah, at the end of the day, people want to be able to make money. People want to be able to pay their rent and things like that, which is why it's so important as consumers to know what it is you're consuming. Um, because, people behind the scenes are, doing certain things for their own gain.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
and so you have to be able to discern that. And so that would be my biggest piece of advice. I am not against, watching, news to stay in the know, but use your discernment accordingly when you do it, so that you could be able to know how you're going to move accordingly.
That's yeah, that's really good because you're right. You gotta have some sense of discernment because if you don't, you can get really, sucked into a lot of negativity because there is, like I said, there's, and I know people say, oh, I don't watch the news anymore, and then there are those that don't, because of all the there is a lot of negativity. There's a lot of different things because like I said, with me and my wife, we try to watch our news just to stay aware, because you still have to
Hmm.
stay aware, but then
Hmm.
there's this like it's a violence of this and it's a
Hmm.
shootings of this and
Yep.
then this and this and this
Trauma
and we're like,
bonding.
man, yeah, yeah, yes, exactly. And then you're
Hmm.
like, oh my goodness, the first 20 minutes of the news is just nothing but negative news. So we're like, we're
Hmm.
gonna turn it off. Then we
Hmm.
won't watch it for like weeks. Now I stay up on it because of just being so on social media.
Hmm.
She does not. She
Hmm.
will not like but I know I just tell you got the politics. We got the
Hmm.
presidential race coming up next year. I know that's
Hmm.
going to be again the media circus. But just staying aware and simple, having that discernment of
Hmm.
okay, because there's so much news on social media too where
Hmm.
you think like, is this true? Is this not true? A lot of
Hmm.
people have their own agendas and people have their own
Exactly.
thing,
Exactly.
and everything too. So yeah,
Yeah.
so I kind of want to transition to you with that on the social media side of
Hmm.
it too, where a lot of people do consume news, sports, entertainment, whatever it is, they consume a lot of that. What would you say would be like some tips of how what to consume. Not saying you consume whatever you want, but to consume the right thing, the most positive things on social media. Because you said you got to be when you're in media, you got to have that presence on social media too.
We
There's
do.
gonna be those trolls. There's gonna be those people that are gonna be
Oh,
negative and things like that. But how would you say how do you navigate through all that? How would you say some others that will want to get into this business?
yeah, I would say because I still want to know what's happening within the negative side because I want to know, what people are consuming and that point
Mhm.
because the truth of the matter is I work in entertainment and people want to be entertained, right? But the
Yeah,
question
right.
becomes how do I want to create content around that stuff that is entertaining people? Do I want to draw people back to my platform to then be educated and just use what some people may, deem as quote unquote foolish, content.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
so I think it all depends on what your intent is. So what I would say is be intentional about who you follow on social media.
Yeah.
I follow a mixture of the Shade Rooms and the Hollywood Unlocks because I do want to stay in the know with what's going on in entertainment because that is my realm of influence. But
Right.
with that being said, I do make sure that I still follow people who are motivating, people who can pour back into me through the content that they're putting out there in regards to being like inspirational and also informative because I love knowledge and I love soaking up
Yeah.
stuff. I'm a forever student. I always tell people that. So that's why I always try to focus in on. And then from there, you got to choose if you want to be a consumer or if you want to be a producer. I mean, it's two
Mm,
options to this game. If
right.
you want to be a consumer, then continue scrolling, 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 having a good time, kikiing up, looking at people's lives and, like liking
Right.
and sharing.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Like I still go on the platform to engage with content by liking and sharing and saving content that I think is going to be very beneficial to me. But
Yeah.
I also am very aware of just like protecting myself and protecting my eye gaze, protecting what I'm listening to. So that's when I automate my content. A lot of people think I'm on social media all the time. I absolutely am not. I have a whole entire team that, works on my social media,
Yeah.
because like I am not going to be on social media all day long. When I go on there, it's very intentional. Like I said, I'm either going on a live for an hour, or I'm going on there to go like some comment, like some content, or I'm going on there to consume and like see what people are talking about, and seeing what they call it social listening, right? You go on there to see what people are talking about, see what's trending, and
Yeah.
I want to see, okay, is this a piece of content that I want to incorporate into like my educational platform? Is this a piece of content that I want to talk about on my, digital show? Is this a piece of content that I want to talk about as a news bite? Which brings me back to that point I made earlier, which is about um entertaining content, like stuff
Hmm.
that people may look at as like negative or toxic, right? So me, I'm gonna talk about it, right? But it's all in like what's gonna be the commentary that I
Yeah.
put on that piece of content. So say for example, like a video I saw this morning, um, while I was scrolling on social media, is I saw these women fighting at the airport, right? So that's toxic, that's negative. But
Yeah.
I may
Yeah.
take that video, right? I may create like a green screen talking about something. Okay, here we go again. Here we go again with like negative women not,
Yeah.
doing what they need to do, but they so busy in the airport spending their money, their time, their energy going on a girls trip, and now you fighting. So what are we really doing? Chime in the comment section below. Let me know what you think.
Yeah.
You see what I'm
I
saying?
like
So it's
that. Yeah.
all how you want to. I'm still like talking about it as a way to attract people, but my commentary is very intentional because I want to get people to think. I want to get people to question themselves. And then maybe you'll come to my profile just because you saw this negative piece of content. Okay, and now I got you in.
Mm. As you said, it's a strategy. That's a good way to you to be able to use social media to to your benefit, or to, as you said, oh, okay, I saw, like you said, you saw the two two women fighting at the airport. All right, I'm gonna comment on it, but I want to hear what you guys have to say. Boom, right there. And then they're like, oh, this is interesting. You said you're in the
Mhm,
entertainment business, so you want to make, to have people entertained. You know, see, find stories like that. And you say, yes,
mhm,
it's a toxic. That's a toxic way. It's a toxic thing. You know, they're fighting in the airport, but all right, I'm gonna spin it this way and let people
mhm,
know, like, okay, what are your comments? Like, why are they fighting? Like, what's going on
mhm,
at the airport again? Here we go again, as you said.
mhm,
But it,
mhm,
it brings content. So sometimes, content is key. Content is
mhm,
king when it comes to the media, social media,
mhm,
and everything
mhm,
too. So yeah, there's a lot of ways. Like you said, social media could be positive, it could be negative. A lot of people think it's all negative because of the way it is, the way things are turning. I could, especially with Twitter or X, um, the way it's different now. It's just not it's
mhm,
not as much as it used to be. But I'm still using it because I'm going to use it for my shows, my podcast. You know, still engaging with other people who I
mhm,
follow, different people I follow, and different podcasts I listen to. So I still use it in that regard. But as you
mhm.
said, you still got to be engaged. You still have to be
You do.
present. You have to be present on social
Mhm.
media. But
Yeah.
you had a good thing when you said you got a team that runs your social media, because you're like, I don't have
Mhm,
enough time to really man it like I should, like I can, but I got a
mhm,
team that can do it. But that's another question I was going to ask you about, having the right people around you, having a team around you. How do you pick your team to be able to, like, okay, this person's good at social media, this person's good at the
mhm,
entertainment aspect of it.
mhm.
How did you pick your team that you have today?
Yeah, so a lot of it happened just out of genuine relationships.
Mhm.
Um, a lot of it, like these are people that I've known or have met through like in communities with other like-minded people. So
Yeah,
it's a mixture of me, um, of people who I've known for like the last like 5, 7 years, and a mixture of just like meeting people just off of like referrals and stuff like that. And
yeah,
so now I have a team. I have a legal team, and my team is very small. Like I make sure that I just hit the basic points, right? Because less is more, and working smart and not hard is also important too. So
yeah.
A lot of the people on my team revolve around legal because I do a lot of legal business exchanges. So that was very important to me to have that person on my team. And then also social media, because
Mhm.
I know that social media is just key. If you're not on social media and you have a business, a product or a service, then you're kind of irrelevant at this point.
Yeah.
And so for me, having a social media team that I could delegate not only editing my content but also distributing it was very important to me, because the person who gets it up the fastest is the person who hits the trend, who ultimately gets the visibility, right? So
Yeah.
that was very important for me. And then outside of that, I have sometimes I'll bring a team on, like if I'm doing like an event. But within my actual business, the legal team and social media team um is really it. And now I'm getting to a point where I'm even bringing on a publicist onto my team. But that's like it. I try to keep things very simple.
Yeah.
And these are people that have grown with. So we have a very great relationship with. Anytime I bring somebody on my team, I'm always praying and fasting over it, to make sure that that's the decision I need to make.
Right.
And then I bring them on. So there's even a process of how I go about even discerning and vetting who it is I want to be a part of what I'm building and what I'm scaling. Um, and that's about it. Honestly, even before I brought on a team, I did all of the jobs myself. The legal, not so much, just like little things within legal, because I'm not an attorney. That is not my wheelhouse. I knew enough to get the job done. So
Right.
anybody that I'm bringing on my team, I know if you're doing your job in excellence or not, because guess what? I did it. I did it before.
Right, exactly. As you said, you've done the editing, you've done all those things. So you're like,
Yeah.
I've done a lot. You said I've done a lot to really I know. But you said to have a good team, because I heard you
Mhm.
on your live earlier. You talk about getting a coach, and I think that's a very important thing too. To you said to
Mhm.
have a coach or have someone or a mentor or something like that. And you said, yeah, you guys need to get a coach. I think that's another piece of
Mhm.
advice that you have presented. Um, just got a couple more for you. I think we could talk hours about media
I know. Let's have
and
a
things
good
like
time. I
that.
love having conversations like
Yeah,
this. This is
I me
awesome.
too. I do too. I appreciate you definitely coming on. And but I'm going to talk about let's talk about uh, women in business and women in media, especially Black women in
Mhm.
media and business. As you said, you went through a lot, and I see it from as a Black man, see all the things that we all go through, especially us
Mhm. Mhm.
black people in this industry. But as a Black woman who now has, you said, have built, you have this empire, you have this empire, this media corporation that you have built
Mhm.
from day one. What would you say? And now you see the growth of more people getting involved, more people just getting these jobs, and then, it's still growing. But would you say with women in
Absolutely.
business media, how it has transpired, how it has grown over the years?
It has definitely grown over the years. I will say that we are entering a era and a place in society where digital and streaming and tech is just going to be the
Mhm.
norm.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and so whether you're working in corporate or starting your own business, you're going to have to be able to know all of these things when it comes to branding, when it comes to marketing, when it comes to learning how to edit, when it comes to even automation. I teach a lot of my entrepreneurs how to use automation as a way to make your business work for itself, because the more and more we get into social and digital and tech, the faster things are going to get, right?
hmm
And don't think that looking at a television network or scrolling on social media is meant to make you confused by coincidence. That's how they get you. You know what I'm saying? So you have to
right.
learn how to compartmentalize things, how to organize things, how to have systems and processes in place so that you could be able to um, do what it is you want to do. Rather you're in corporate and you're wanting to have those skill sets to make you an asset, or rather you're starting your own business and you want to be able to know those skills to basically pour into what you're doing with your business. So what I will say around media, the media business is becoming, there's a lot of resources out there, but it's going to be really important for you to get into spaces, get into communities where you're around other like-minded people, where they can pour into you, where they can hold you accountable, where you could be around other people who are going to give you tips and tricks and tools and resources so that you could be able to get to your next level. Okay, so when I did invest in my my consultant who helped me get my stuff organized, like, I was already good at media, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes you need somebody from the outside looking in to help you organize it, especially when you're looking to become a entrepreneur. So I was, I was working my business, but I wasn't working it to the full capacity that it could be worked to. So I don't have to always be in 100 million places all at one time. So when I brought on that business coach, she helped me basically organize everything that I'm doing with my digital talk show, to my um, TV streaming network, to my media consultancy, to my online community, to my like educational platform. And people, they always have this thing with me. They're like, Kami, when do you get sleep? And I'm like, I do
Mm-hmm.
get sleep. It's just sometimes you have to invest in a coach who can help you organize and streamline all of what you're doing so
Right.
that everything can work for itself and so that everything can be automated. Like, I'm not always on social media. Like I said, I have a team for that. I'm not always, you know, like, I have a day and time when I do like my show. I have a schedule when I wake up. I make sure that I go for my walks. I make sure, that I'm getting my head right before I get my day started. So it's all in how you balance your emotions, your time, your
Mm-hmm.
energy, what you're looking at, what you're listening to, who you're entertaining and having conversations with, and at the same time being able to create that streamlined process and being around those same people, which is how I even got into starting the first class community. That was out of a need. I had some entrepreneurs who couldn't afford me as a one-on-one coach. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna start the online community to basically still provide that information to people
Yeah.
on a bi-weekly basis. Maybe it's not one-on-one, maybe it's not individualized, but you're still getting the same industry proven like techniques and strategies and the same like ebooks and the templates. You just might not see me on a one-on-one basis and get that individualized support and knowledge for your individual business, whether it's a product or a service. But then also, still giving that information out on like my digital show, through the people who I bring on there, which is a free platform. So if you are not ready to invest in a one-on-one coach or ready to invest in a community, which still provides the same information, maybe tapping into my show is just where you're at right now, because people buy what they want to buy. I have
Mm-hmm.
this thing like, yeah, okay, you either want to go out to brunch with your girls or you gotta go invest in that like logo that you've been like kind of sitting on, or that book that you've been writing about and you want to like publish it. But
Right.
sometimes you got to say, you know what, I'm gonna sacrifice, maybe not going out to the club and popping bottles and going to brunch with my girls, because I'm gonna
Yeah.
use that money to go invest in my coach. My coach was $3,000. Okay, like, not to mention my like background of going to Columbia University, which is the number one journalism school in the world. So when people
Yeah.
come to me for my information and my insight, these are the places and spaces that I went to that I invested over
Right.
$100,000 in, so that I could be able to pour into people and to you. So when you come to me and I'm asking you to pay $50 a month to be a part of my community, or $2,000 for my coaching, or $100 for a module, or $7 for one of my ebooks, just know that it's coming from a place of me like being able to invest in myself so I could be able to pour back into you. And when you get that information, now you could pour into somebody else who's coming behind
Mhm.
you, who's trying to learn how to do what it is you have found success in. So I understand there are scammers out in this world, and that's why you got to discern and vet people
Yep.
accordingly, and see what they're about, how long they've been doing it, what their credentials are. And don't get me wrong, there are some people with credentials who are still out here to a certain level scamming because they haven't healed. So when I'm betting people on where is your mind at, in addition to where you put your money at, as it pertains to the knowledge that you have invested in. Because I got to make sure whoever's coaching me is there mentally on the same page as me, in addition to the information and the skills that they're teaching me around like how to structure what it is that I'm doing. So
Exactly. Everyone, definitely. Shout out to CJ. Said what's good. Yes, definitely. If people listen, you try to get into this business. Kami is the one to. And then, as you said, if you want to invest, you want to really take your. If you're trying to get into media and the media business and take it to the next level, she is definitely will definitely give you the advice and give you these tips and strategies. I hope everyone that has listened and who has commented on, I know on Twitter and everything. This was a great conversation, and you're right. You got to have the right team. You got to be with like-minded people, as you said. Community, I think is very important. I think community is important in a lot of different areas.
mhm,
And you're right. And have discernment. I got a lot of that out of what you were talking about. And be present. I think
mhm,
it's another thing because a lot of people don't like to be present or they're not consistent with it. I
exactly.
think that's a good thing. Cami, I really enjoyed this. Like I said, we could have went on for more hours, but I'm not going to keep you much longer. But I wanted to just to say any final words that you have. Final words, if it's just a piece of advice, any final words, and where they can follow you on social media, follow you to reach out to you because you're so knowledgeable and you said you've been doing this for a long time. And I know you would be very super helpful. You answered social media questions all the time. You answered the DMs. We were talking so much over the last couple of weeks, and I was like, wait, it looked like we already did the podcast. So I had a couple of different questions that we were already talking, but I wanted to put it on on camera too. So, but I
Of
really
course.
appreciate it. But any final words and where they can follow you on social media?
Yeah. So I would just say really embrace the process, because your process is your process, your journey is your journey, and nobody could take that from you, especially once you have been elevated into what you have been called to be, right? So first you have to go through that process so that you could be able to go through, those isolated times and those times where it may not be the best of times. But I will
Mhm.
also say be open to healing. Always come to life with an open heart, an open mind, and be open to healing, because sometimes when you're not healed, there are certain things that you can't catch. And you want to be able
Yeah.
to catch those things, because those things, those nuggets of information, those connections with people who are going to help, elevate you in your next season of evolving and elevation is going to be so key, which is why I say, like, yeah, you can have all the skill sets in the world, but if you have not been healed, there's still going to be a part of you that's not going to be able to catch all of
Right.
what you have been called to in your elevation season. And know that because you have gone through what you have gone through, it's for a reason. I know you, have been hurt or have gone through like pain and rejection, but that is your story so that you could be able to touch other people who are currently going through pain and rejection. If you don't have a story, then what are we doing? And I tell that
Right.
people all the time. People want to hear that low point of your life, because they want to know that they can make it out of their low point. So that there's a reason
Hmm.
behind that. And then I will also say, once you have elevated, now it's time for you to invest. If you're coming in with a hand out, and you're coming in there with an entitlement spirit, a competitive spirit, a competition driven spirit, a poverty mindset, uh, um, a poor mentality, then guess what, baby? I don't know. This might be your end. So I'm letting you know that, because the moment you do that is the moment where you're going to continue to hit blocks. Okay, the
Hmm.
moment that I invested in my coach was the moment my next level of elevation was opened up. The moment where
Right.
I let go of the pain and the hurt and the rejection and I forgave people, that's when my mindset opened up. So when we're
Right.
talking about $1 million mindset, it's not just about money. Yes, money is a tool and a strategy in this world. Okay. But your mind and your healing and your story and all of that is also honestly 90% of how you're going to continue to elevate and become all that you were made to be, the superstars that you were made to be. So with that being said, I would say embrace the journey, be open to it, invest, stop being out here popping bottles, going to brunch. Okay. I know we're in the Christmas season, and don't get me wrong. It's great to fellowship with people and to be out there and to like spend money on people, but be very mindful because every decision that you make, whether it's financially, mentally, physically, is gonna affect your next. And so I would just say, just be open to being in spaces and places, even like how I'm having this conversation with Courtney today here on the, Get the Real Deal podcast. You know, these kind of platforms are important. But it's also important to know how powerful they are. If I came on here, and there's been plenty of times in my life where I'm like, well, I'm ready to get back on these platforms, but I wasn't truly healed. Because the thing is, when you get on these platforms, you're not only impacting people through the information that you're sharing, but you're impacting them through your demeanor, your presence, and so you're influencing people as a result of that. And so I just always tell people, take that seriously, because once you get into a place of power and influence, you can tell anybody anything, from how to spend their money to what decisions they're making. And I do not take that lightly. And I tell my entrepreneurs who I bring on and do coaching with that no, we are not promoting egotistical, bitter businesses. That is not what we're doing. It is not sustainable. For one, they are not scalable. Okay, fight me if you want to. But two, the influence that you have on the people and the customers and the clients that you bring who are being impacted by your business is going to be key as well. So you guys can follow me at Kami Simmons, and that's underscore KamiSimmons across all social media platforms. My network is First Class Network, which is First Class Network underscore across all social media platforms. And, inbox me, DM me. As Courtney said, I will talk back. I love talking to the people. I love sharing. I love serving people. At the end of the day, I'm here to complete an assignment. And I give all the glory and honor to God, because that is my ultimate consultant and my CEO of my business.
Amen to that.
And I'm very, um, I stand on that, and so, but I love to help people. I love to serve people. I love to entertain people. I love to inform and inspire people. So if you want to be a part of everything that I got going on, then definitely tap in and follow me. I would love to have you be a part of just the movement that I'm doing. So yeah, that's it.
Mic drop. Mic drop. If you guys were not educated, I hope you guys were educated with this, because as Kami said, if you're trying to get into any form of business or media, as you said, it is it's a hard business. It's a hard business to get into. It, you said it's competition, all those things. But if you have the right mindset, and for one, God first, definitely the right mindset and the right people around you, having that sense of discernment, as we said, you can make it in any industry or anything that you put your mindset to, with God first, as always. But Kami, thank you again. I've learned a lot, because you said elevate, even my pockets, just elevated it to the next, to the next levels, and more platforms or whatever I'm trying to do, whether it's reporting or the podcast itself. I definitely, that's why I wanted to get you on, just to learn, some more, because we always are learning. We learn every day. We learn something every day. So yeah, just soak all the information up as much as possible as it is. But Kami, definitely, thank you. Can't thank you enough for coming on and blessing the show. I really appreciate it. Really appreciate you and your time. And enjoy the holidays. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas,
You
and
too.
happy holidays to you and your family, and many blessings. And again, follow Kami on all social media platforms and follow her network and all that too. So again, thank you, Cami, and I'll definitely share this with you.
Thank
I'll
you,
share it.
Kami.
Yeah, I'll send it to your email, and yeah, I'll share it on all social media platforms as well. So thank you again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. And congratulations on the real deal. This was definitely a great, I love what you're doing. This is
Thank you. Thank you.
awesome.
I appreciate that. I really do. Definitely. Thank you again. And we'll do this again. We'll do one maybe next. We'll do one next year, and we'll just
Okay.
dive into more media stories and strategies and things like that because the media doesn't stop. It continues to.
Absolutely.
It's a 24/7 cycle, 365
Hmm.
cycle. So it's always
Absolutely.
something to talk about when it comes to social media. But yeah,
Absolutely.
I thank you again, and again, enjoy the holidays.
Okay. Thank you too. And enjoy, have some good food for me.
Oh, I will. I will. I know you will too. So enjoy family time and enjoy some time off. All right. Appreciate you. Then thank you again.
Okay. You're welcome. Take care.
You too.
Thank you.
All right. That was Kami Simmons. I loved it. If you're trying to get into social media or business in the media or anything like that, she's a she does strategy and all those things. So definitely follow her, like, subscribe, all those things to be in. And she's a very knowledgeable, very helpful if you're trying to get into the business. So, all right, well, that is a wrap for the first show. I got another one coming later today, around about 6 o'clock, yeah, 6 p.m. Eastern time. So be on the lookout for that on all the platforms. Like I said, Spreaker, Spotify, Google, for the audio, and then video, Facebook, Instagram, BS3 TV, Roku channel. We're on Roku, YouTube, Twitter, and all the platforms there. So again, thank you to Kami Simmons. Let me You can follow her, as I said, underscore Kami underscore Simmons. Their First Class Network underscore. Follow her network. There, as she, like I said, she's been all around the media and news and entertainment and tech. She's done reporting. She's done a little bit of everything. So follow her network. Follow her on social media and her journey as well. All right. Well, I will see you guys next time. Thanks for all the comments. Thanks for all the likes. Thank you for the viewership. Everyone that tuned in, really, really appreciate it as always. Until next time, see you guys at 6 o'clock with some NFL. We're in week 14. The NFL season has just gone so fast. But I got another great guest coming up on 6 o'clock today. So tune in then. And until next time, as always, peace and God bless.